at the very beginning, we both wanted to create something where it's like, this is, not just Luis, this is Luis Navarro from Twin Tribes, and this is Joel from Twin Tribes as well. Separate, from, the guy that's teaching and the guy that's over there working, being a financial coach and stuff like that. So yeah, we definitely tried a lot of things, and eventually we started experimenting with, using more makeup, and I feel like the whole look, it started traveling, and like it started getting popular. The bolo ties, you start seeing them everywhere. I'm not saying that we're getting credit for that, but like it's just like I feel like people really like the vibe, the aesthetic.
Yeah. What's going on? Welcome to The New Music Business. I'm your host, Ari Herstand, author of How to Make It in the New Music Business, the book, 3rd edition. Out now everywhere, all formats, audiobook, ebook, hardcover, however you like to read books, consume books, you can find it. Today, my guest is Twin Tribes. They're the duo comprised of Luis Navarro and Joel Niño Jr., hailing from Texas, Brownsville, Texas specifically. It's like 4 hours from San Antonio, just 15 minutes right over the border from Mexico. And they are part of the Darkwave industrial Gothic scene. And they kind of talk about building this operation DIY. Now, they are able to tour the world totally DIY independently. They release their music through DistroKid, and they've made cassettes, they've made vinyl records, CDs, and they talk about how they've kind of patchworked these partners because they've worked with record labels that only really for their physical products. So they've struck record deals just specifically for vinyl records in Europe, or CDs in Europe, or cassette tapes, or records in America. And it's not necessarily just ordering a bunch in bulk. It's kind of this left to center, more alternative record deal, and they talk about that a bit. But they really talk about how they've built this operation in this community, because it's a very strong community in this kind of Gothic scene. Their aesthetic and their visuals are very strong and very intentional. And if you browse their Instagram or look at the shows, everything is very intentional. And so they talk about putting that together, these two guys from Texas, and kind of where all the inspiration came from, and why they structured their project the way that they did. Very fascinating. Learn a lot from this. Very inspiring. And it really kind of goes to show, finding your niche and finding your scene is so important. And their streaming numbers are nothing to scoff at. I mean, they have just on Spotify alone over 30 million streams. They have nearly 1 million monthly listeners. And that's just on Spotify, and their other streaming numbers are very strong. And Bandcamp as well. They talk about, how they've used Bandcamp and how that's been for them. Really great interview. Really sweet guys, and really just cool to hear their story and give inspiration to all musicians out there thinking about, where they're going to find their community and how they're going to build it. And they talk about really building this in a DIY way. You can find Twin Tribes. They're most active on Instagram, or you can find them on any of the streaming services. Of course, find them on Bandcamp. Find all of us that make the show happen at Ari's Take on all the socials. You can find me at Ari Herstand on Instagram if you want to shoot me a DM. Right now, if you wouldn't mind just pausing this and leaving us a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, leave us a comment on Spotify. Yes, you can now leave comments on Spotify or YouTube. Give us a follow, thumbs up, subscribe. However you're listening to this right now, hit that subscribe button if you want us to keep making these and you want these episodes to populate your feed. But also visit aristake.com. Get on the email list. That's the best way to stay in touch. They talk about email a bit and how they use email. Email for us, that is the best way that we can stay in touch with you. We'll send you all the most important info about the new music business. So aristake.com, get on that email list. All right, let's kick into the show. Luis, Joel, Twin Tribes, welcome to the show.
Hi, how you doing?
How you doing, Ari? Thanks for having us.
Hey, great. Yeah, for sure. So for those watching, I do have to start off by asking, The story behind, is that a telescope that I'm seeing behind you in the background? Can we just talk about like where are you right now? Because I see a lot of musical equipment. I see a gigantic, beautiful rug, and then a massive telescope that looks like it should be an observatory. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, right now we are in uh, my garage, but this is our I guess studio headquarters.
Okay.
And yeah, this is where we write. This is where we practice. And the telescope is just an old hobby. It's to use it to stargaze and stuff like that. I haven't used it in a while though. It's needs some tender loving care in there, but yeah.
And where are you, in Texas right now, or where are you exactly?
Yeah, we're in Brownsville, Texas.
All right. So you've and that's where you formed. Is this where you grew up too? Did you guys did you like born and raised here, Brownsville?
Well, I was originally born in Matamoros, which is this is a border city. So about 10-15 minutes away from here is Mexico, Matamoros. That's where I was born. And I moved over here when I was like 5 or so. And I've been living here, since then. And eventually this is where I met Joel.
Yeah, yeah. I also grew up here, what we call the Valley here in Texas, and not too far from here, about 15 minutes, in a place called Los Fresnos. But yeah, we met here through a band we were in previous.
Nice. Very cool. Well, it's a great setup. So your studio headquarters. And so I want to I want to take it back a bit and just kind of get the origin story of Twin Tribes, and how did you guys meet, and just kind of give me that.
Yeah, so I met Joel maybe a long time ago. I think it was maybe around 2009 or 2010, probably through a mutual friend that was, he is a drummer, and he was a drummer for Joel's old band. And they called me to help them for I guess a couple of live shows, but they're going to release. There was a CD release show, and ever since then we kind of clicked. And I joined the band. I was playing synth and a little bit of everything. I was like a multi instrumentalist, and then eventually that band just kind of like it died on its own. And then I started writing demos for what was Shadows, were turned into Shadows. And I remember we were driving to Austin for a festival or something like that. And I remember showing Joel, hey, check these out. Let me know what you think about these. And I think after that, we started getting together. He said, he liked the demos and stuff. And a little bit after that, we started the band.
Yeah. Yeah. From that, I remember going to Luis's house and kind of writing what was going to be the first album, Shadows. Just did it in his room, kind of. I'm on an acoustic guitar. He's like playing on an electric guitar, and we're just kind of like putting it all together. But yeah.
So part of it's great, and part of kind of this scene that you're in, and I don't know, I don't want to botch it, but I know it's kind of part of like maybe Darkwave, or kind of maybe this like Gothic realm, a bit of the industrial sound that you have. There's some musical traditions that you're pulling from and paying homage to, and that are present within the music, and that you clearly have a very deep knowledge and understanding of that you put your music together for. But there's also kind of maybe cultural traditions, and within kind of this community that is there, because it seems very present as like at your shows, the communities online. It seems like a tight-knit community, and it seems like people self-select and they find each other. Talk to me about maybe the community aspect of what you have found, and if it was intentional. Is this is the community that you found yourselves a part of growing up, and you wanted to continue that tradition, or did the community Was it a surprise? Did they find you? And just speak to that a little bit, and then we're going to dive into the music. But I'm curious about where you found yourselves and what this community is around the project.
I honestly think that it was a surprise. It didn't. It was all organic. We didn't know it was a thing. When we were writing our first album, we didn't really have any expectations. It was just something that we were doing it because we enjoyed what we were doing at the time, and we just the goal was let's put a cassette out, fund it ourselves, and that's it, and see what happens. Later, we started seeing how the music was I guess accepted by what we saw the community. We didn't really know at the time until after, right?
Yeah. For us, when we made the music, I know Luis had sent me a lot of the more modern artists that were kind of playing at the time that I had no idea about. Obviously, the older stuff from the 80s, like The Cure, Depeche Mode, New Order, I knew about. But, he kind of said, hey, dude, like there's this bunch of bands that are kind of like in this realm, but that are doing it now. And I thought that was really, really cool. And so, bands like, Drat Majesty, She Passed Away, Lebanon Hanover. These are some bands that we were kind of, inspired by in the modern era. So, we knew that there was a community out there, but nothing that was like, okay, well, this is going to be something that kind of like takes us to where we're at now, like playing all over the world. The beautiful thing about, once we started writing, the online, community of DJs and these dance pockets, of certain DJ nights that were all over the country, kind of started playing the music for their people and kind of recommending us. So, here in Texas, there's pockets of dance nights in San Antonio that were established that have been going on since maybe the 90s, some from the 80s. In New York, there was a pocket of DJs and Los Angeles, these big cities, right? There's these communities, but what we, I guess, didn't realize at the time is that, all around the country, there's like these just pockets of people, but overall, everybody, it almost feels like everybody knows each other. So it's like this huge network of, I would say people can say goth, but it's all goth industrial. It's all encompassing, like this dark umbrella of music in the underground that, we didn't know completely was out there.
Right. And how did these DJs find you initially?
Honestly, I don't even know because it's a lot of people are just looking and digging for new stuff. So I want to say when we barely started, our stuff was basically on Bandcamp. It was, I don't know if it was even on digital platforms aside from Bandcamp.
Yeah.
So it's very common for these DJs to support artists and to just kind of like see what's new.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And you said you initially released music on cassette tape. Did I hear that right? So was it only cassette, or was this like kind of pre-digital platforms? And how did you go about doing that? I mean, was it just like hawking them out of your trunk, or when you play shows, you'd sell the cassettes, or like were people buying them from your Bandcamp page? Or talk to me about the cassette experience.
Yeah, the cassette was our very first release. And that was our goal, after writing the album and being in the studio. We knew, all right, this is the plan. We're going to release 100 cassettes, and they all came with a digital download. So you can also enjoy the actual digital music aside from just having a cassette there. So yeah, I thought that they looked really cool. I've been still a fan of cassettes, honestly, and they seem to be doing really well.
Yeah, he has like a whole rack of just like cassette, like on his wall, just cassettes all the way
You're a cassette head.
Yeah, and when we're out and about, we get some free time, and we go to record stores. He's definitely in the cassettes.
Yeah,
nice.
But yeah, that was the plan, honestly, and we didn't expect much from it. All we wanted to do was, we created this music that we enjoyed, and it sounded really cool to us, and and yeah, put it out on tape, and okay, cool. Maybe we'll tour Texas a little bit, and and that was really the extent of our planning. Everything else kind of snowballed from there. But they sold pretty well, I think. I think as the music kind of got out there is when we started selling more and more cassettes, and we had to get like a second pressing. People started reaching out to us about vinyl and all that.
Yeah. So early on, I mean, I find this so fascinating because it is such a niche that you're part of. And, even just like DJs finding you on Bandcamp, I mean, that's something that, we just don't hear about that often. But it is, it dives deeper and gets to the community aspect of everything. Were you seeing that it was growing in other areas as well, or was it really these dance nights and these pockets around that were kind of these underground, kind of maybe industrial communities and dance parties and just these like very niche clubs that were playing your music, and then people were kind of, word was spreading organically, and then were you getting show offers, or how did it grow from there? Like, how did you know, all right, we got to go, we have to tour, or did your Bandcamp explode, or did you eventually release your music, to the DSPs, the streaming services, and you started noticing an uptick there? Like, tell me about kind of how that started to grow, and just how that all went.
Once we had the album and our music started spreading a little bit, we knew right away, okay, so we need to play outside of where we're from, and that's what we did first. We started kind of targeting these I guess bigger cities that are close to us. For example, San Antonio. So we had to travel 4 hours north, try to find a show there. And once we were able to play in one of those established goth nights, so where all of the goth community of San Antonio gets together, dance, and listen to that music, once we were able to play in front of them, it felt like it started spreading. And it's like, okay, we already played San Antonio, and then let's try to do either Austin or Dallas, right? I think that we did like a little run like that.
Yeah, we did. We did like a little Texas run with another band who was like, hey, like you should come tour with us. I think
Calico Club
was one of our first tours. We toured with them.
Cool.
But the funny thing was that a lot of the shows we're doing DJ nights. Like we're still opening for DJs. Like here in our local scene, very small, if at all. The DJ. Like we opened for somebody who was playing 80s, playing some goth. In San Antonio, as Luis mentioned, 1313, and there was Sisters of Monday and other established things, nights that we did. The first time we were in San Antonio, I think we did it was an indie night.
It was like an indie night, yeah. It was a little random, but the band that we played with got us that show, and we met one of our best friends there, and that eventually toured with us.
Yeah.
So it's super random, but that's kind of how it happened. After the Texas stuff, then the show offers started coming in because those DJs are connected with a DJ from the West Coast or from the East Coast or from Midwest. So then they're like, hey, have you heard Twin Tribes?
Yeah.
So then a DJ, one of our good friends from New York, Sean Templar, reached out to us. Or we reached out to him, and he said, I can get you a show here.
Yeah.
And that was our first out-of-state show. Yeah. And that's when we started kind of saying, okay, so touring, at least Texas, we tried that. We tried our first out-of-state show in New York, which we played for a DJ. We opened up for a DJ night, and that seemed to be the case as well. The same thing that we did in San Antonio, play for an established audience, and after that, we immediately started planning our our first tour, which
Mm.
was, within that first year of the band.
Yeah, and that was out to the West Coast, I believe. And then, our first time in Los Angeles, and, honestly, just like shows that we could kind of gather up. And, we did, Luis did a lot of work going into like Facebook community pages and being like, hey, we want to come to this city. We see that there's like a goth, community page. Does anybody have any leads? And we got some shows like that too. Cool. So a lot of digging through social media also.
So it was just you guys kind of putting it all together and booking these initial tours on your own, right? You didn't have any representation or other partners.
Yeah, totally. It was just us. Everything was DIY, and the band was something that we were doing aside from our regular 9 to 5 jobs.
Yeah, everything was planned around those jobs. Like if we had vacation times, if we had holidays, we're not chilling and spending it with family. Like we're on the road. Like we spent a couple of Christmases on the road, during those early years. So.
And what were your jobs at the time?
I was teaching middle school Spanish.
Yeah. Oh. And I worked for a nonprofit. I was it's been so long. A housing advisor and a financial coach with a local nonprofit. Yeah.
Nice. And so when did it start to really ramp up where you were able to quit your day jobs and you realize like, wow, this is actually going to support us, and where was that revenue kind of coming from primarily? Was it the show guarantees? Was it merch? Was it online revenue? Was it Bandcamp? Was it streaming revenue? Like break the business side of it down for me a little bit.
So after that, we started planning our first tour. We noticed that in certain cities it went extremely well. In others, we had, obviously there's always room for growth, but we started noticing these places, and we did another tour at the end of the year. So we toured that first year of the band. We did 2 long ones and did a couple of fly-ins here and there. We noticed that we could do this a little bit better if we, keep releasing new music, if we try playing a little bit, I guess more consistently. Yeah. And that's what we tried to do.
Yeah. From each tour as you go, like we learned, we got to get more experience and you change things. And we weren't afraid to get rid of, habits that maybe weren't helping us, stay on the road or come back with a little bit of cash instead of, not coming back with anything or coming back with no money or coming back with debt, basically, right?
Right, sure.
But yeah, it was a little bit of everything, Of course, streaming gives you some from Bandcamp. At that point, we're on Spotify and other streaming services. Of course, merch sales are always huge. And for the most part, we would rely on our guarantees to kind of fund like the gas and the hotels or wherever we needed a place to stay. Besides that, we would sleep on floors too. But
sure,
when we did get to the point of, let's just do this kind of like a full-time thing, it wasn't even a sense of like, okay, we're financially ready to go. It was still a leap of faith.
Yeah, it was a leap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were still like, okay, we don't know if it's going to work. We don't know, but if we don't take this chance right now, then we're going to regret this for the rest of our lives. So, and that was 2021.
Yeah.
No? Yes?
Yeah, that was 2021.
Just after lockdown.
Right. And by this point, we just started working with our booking agent, Andrew, from Rocky Road. So we were doing, booking our own tours and shows and festivals, DIY, the first 2-3 years of the band. Andrew comes in and starts getting us bigger shows, starts getting us in front of playing next to Clan of Cymox, a tour that's a month. Back then, our tours max were 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, once he showed us the proposal and, all the shows that we could play. And then as soon as that one was over, we were going to play another month in Europe. So there was no way that we would have been able to do this, keeping our jobs.
It was 3 months back to back. So, once we got the approval, yes, you can go, internationally and play. It was like, well, I'm going to tell my boss. I had a really pretty cool boss at that point. So he's like, yeah, do both. Absolutely not possible when you're international and still trying to do stuff over here. So, but 3 months, where you just had to make the decision, let's just go for it. And so, I resigned from my job. I think Luis was shortly after did it too. Mm-hmm. And we're like, okay, man, so this is it. It's on us. And so.
And what were some of those early shows on those, 3 month back to back, those 3 month long tours? What were the shows? Were you still opening for DJs? Was that your niche, or were you starting to play headlining shows? Or step me through kind of those early tours.
So that one was where we noticed for the first time, because this is the 2021, our first headlining tour, or not first, but our first big headlining tour, which is the one that Rocky Road came up for us. There we noticed that we sold out LA 1,000 cap venue.
Where'd you play? Here.
That was at
Catapult?
No, that was at with Das Bunker.
Oh yeah, Catch One.
Catch One. In
LA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
big club, yeah.
So we played there, and that was, I think, maybe our first time that we sold LA out, and I think maybe our first time selling anything out. I'm not too sure.
Probably.
But those are the type of shows that we started playing in that tour. We started noticing okay, wow, we are doing really good here, and we're growing from the 2-3 tours ago.
Yeah. And again, for the most part, I think at that point, the team was just us two and Andrew, which was our booking agent. So we're still,
doing merch ourselves.
We're still, I will say though, we did have strategic partnerships at that point with different, labels where it would be okay, we had a label in Europe, Germany to be precise, Young and Cold Records, who, they would press the vinyl for us, and they say, okay, well, here's yours. You don't have to necessarily pay us, but here's your allotment. And we would sell those records here in the States. And again, strategic partnerships for us, instead of being under your traditional, okay, I got you for 5 years, 3 years, for X amount of money, we need X amount of albums from you during these years. So for us, it worked perfectly because, in a sense, it still felt really DIY. Still felt really I guess, how would I say it? Yeah, I guess DIY is the best thing to say there.
So you mentioned the German partner as a record label. Were they just a record pressing plant, or what was that relationship like? If it wasn't a traditional record deal, kind of tell me how that came to be, or what that situation was.
Yeah, so I mean, when we first did the first pressing of Shadows on vinyl, that was with another record, I guess, label. They were called Dead Wax Records out of Spain, and but they do very limited releases. So they said, okay, we're going to press this album, and we're not going to make any more, right? And so Young and Cold approached us. They said, hey, we want to also release that record on vinyl. We got permission from Dead Wax because they had a specific pressing, but we got all new artwork and stuff like that. And then, it was just they are a traditional label. They have a bunch of bands in the underground scene on their label that they press records for. And they also act as a record store. So they'll stock other bands. So yeah, and really that's how that was. There was no sign here, sign on the dotted line, stuff like that. And
Were they releasing you digitally also, or was it just physical?
I believe it was physical.
Interesting.
Yeah. And we had a bunch of those. Like we had, obviously, eventually, they also were able to put our songs on Bandcamp, but of course, we'd get royalties from that too.
Okay.
But yeah, like we had Young and Cold Records in Germany doing vinyl. We had Negative Gain here in the U.S. doing CDs, and then we had another label in France, Manic Depression, doing CDs internationally. So,
wow.
So we're working with juggling labels here, kind of like, but still doing the same thing, right? We're still.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you getting your music out to DSPs, to streaming services?
Oh, that was us.
Yeah. That was us from the very beginning. At first, we would only release on Bandcamp. Then after, we noticed it's kind of dying down, then we would release on Spotify. Now we just want to release everywhere. Yeah, everywhere. But yeah, we
and you're using just a DIY distributor like a DistroKid or something?
Yeah. We started with CD Baby with our first album, but then after that, we exclusively with DistroKid for all the releases after that, and yeah, it worked fantastically for us.
That's so interesting. That's cool that you're kind of piecing all of these partners together and not necessarily just following the traditional music industry path of signing a record deal and teaming up with a manager and just letting them handle everything. I mean, you were like piecing it together where it made sense, like the certain company for CDs internationally, domestically, vinyl, cassette, all of that. So that's great. And did you? So you said you were releasing, that was just you two kind of at the time, and you and Andrew and these strategic partners. Do you have a manager now, or is it still just the two of you kind of at the helm?
No, now we do have a manager.
Okay.
But Esteban didn't come in, and Unchained it didn't come in until, what was it, February of last year.
Yeah. And to
after your album came out, after
Pendulum
came out.
Yeah,
right.
Correct. And to your point, I think it's not only a testament of being able to work with each other, I guess as a band with a label, but the labels among themselves being able to say, hey, you know what, we do want to work with Twin Tribes, and we do want to be a part of what they're doing. And I think just in general, like being able to do that at the beginning was something really special, and I think something that we were happy to be a part of.
Yeah. So I'm curious how you grew. I mean, because your streaming numbers are very impressive. And for kind of a DIY project, I mean, for any project, it's very admirable. And the fact that you released 3 albums on your own, without management, without a record label, just kind of doing it DIY using CD Baby or DistroKid, and was there a digital strategy? I mean, to put my marketer hat on, was there how do we grow the streaming numbers? And you have Monolith, which is your top song right now. Well, not the most streams, but it's least on Spotify. It's kind of the most active from Pendulum. It's 10 million streams, and Phantasms from the earlier record, from Ceremony, that's almost 15 million streams. Like, tell me about this digital strategy, because streaming wise, for everything you've talked about, it sounds like, wow, DIY on the ground, building it on the road. You got the support from the DJ community, from the goth community, industrial. You got these international record labels selling physical. We haven't even touched on the digital aspect, and I'm looking at your streaming numbers. I'm like, honestly, these are super impressive, and these are numbers that people would just dream of, kind of having this support online, and you have an official playlist. So, tell me about that. If there was a strategy, or did it just kind of grow organically?
I think at first, it was organic, but once we started, I think maybe by the time that we released Ceremony, our second album, we were studying labels of artists that we liked, and we were studying when they would release, how many singles they would release, when these, how far apart to release these singles. So we were like really studying these artists and trying to do the best thing, or recreate it ourselves, but in a little different way, because we didn't have the funds to release a video with every single. And so we kind of just had to try doing our own thing there, like pick and choose. Okay, so we can do one video that we can afford. Pick the song for it, and then try to come up with a cool strategy of when to release, basing off of other labels and all the stuff that they were working, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You take a look at what works, not only in our scene, but overall, like, what works around what time, is best. It was very, I would say, strategic, once we were already at Ceremony. And yeah, like we said, we couldn't afford to, put out a video with every single, but we do realize the aspect of, having a visual to go along with a song or a single, because, nowadays a lot of people, well, it's a visual world, whether it's TikTok, whether it's YouTube. People want to see that. They want to see the artist. They want to see the art. And I think, not only did we do it strategically as far as like how we wanted to release it or when, but, reinvesting in ourselves. Like we saved a lot of money from tours to like say, okay, well, we need to use this for, we know we want to release the next album. We have the songs, but, we've got to, make sure that we have our little bit of savings to be able to at least have one really good video.
Let's talk videos. So, Cauldron of Thorns, your most recent video, I believe it was released just a couple months ago. That is quite an ambitious project here. I mean, that is an incredible video, extremely well done, very creative, massive production. And for a DIY band, my God, I mean, I couldn't even count how many cast members were in there, let alone I was looking at the credits at the end of it. I mean, they went on and on. I mean, this was like a feature film. I mean, this is a real music video. This is like what a major label artist would spend on or put together for a music video. Like, tell me about the process of putting this video together, because this was quite a production and an endeavor, and it's really well done.
Thank you. Yeah. That was our most recent video. It was for the Cauldron of Thorns. I think that was single number 2 when we released Pendulum. We didn't release it right away. We released it, Monolith first, waited a little bit, and then eventually did the video. And that idea came from, Joel and I driving. I think, we rented a van and we were, I think, on tour, just driving and just, okay, let's just talk ideas. And we were just, spitballing stuff, and it came from inspiration, kind of like Labyrinth, and can't remember if we talked about anything else.
It all wouldn't have been possible if we without the production company, without the director Sultan, and all the team that he put together, Everett, part of that team, as well. They kind of, we just come to them with our ideas and the vision and say, okay, like, this is what we want to do. We want to go next level. Like, everything that we've done with this new album, Pendulum, everybody that we've worked with on it was always like, we want to do it next level. We want to make sure the release, the artwork, the videos behind them. Yes, Cauldron was a big video, huge production, but the one before that, Monolith, was also, for us at the time, our biggest one too. So we're just continuously, pushing that needle, I guess, or just moving,
Hmm.
upgrading. So honestly, we couldn't have done it without them because they put the teams together. They got the locations.
Yeah.
They just made our vision come to life, and much more than that.
Totally.
Yeah. Who are the actors in? I mean, were these? Did they cast them, or are they friends of yours?
No, they cast them, right? They did a casting
Wow.
process, and for the Monolith one, that was Nastia, right?
Mhm.
Nastia. She like
The dancer in there with
yes,
the that
yes,
yeah,
yeah,
creepy black stuff.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what's tell me the story behind that. I know there's a bunch of symbolism happening, and I know that this slime or this black, it's like alive and it's kind of coming up her, and but yeah, tell me about that, the Monolith story behind that video.
Same thing, same thing. It might have been also the same car ride, and we were just talking about ideas of our videos, and that came from we were driving, and all right, dude, what do you think about this? And it kind of came from inspiration behind the X-Files. And there's an episode that's the black goo, or you don't know what it is, but it's a mysterious substance from another planet, or who knows, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny now that we're like kind of talking out loud. A lot of our ideas do come from when we're on the road and driving. It's
Sure. That's great.
Even him showing me the first demos for Shadows, we were on the road driving. It's crazy.
Cool.
But yeah.
Nice. And Cauldron of Thorns, what's tell me the story around that. Is this masquerade kind of this, darker masquerade party that's happening? Yeah, where did that come from?
I think that for that one we had maybe just a little bit of an idea. We said, all right, what about a masquerade or a ballroom or something? And that's where Sultan and Everett kind of started piecing everything together. I think that they came up with the idea of Joel being like, I don't know necessarily like the bad guy, and Nina the good guy, but just to put it that way. And we're both kind of trying to either lure or I don't know, influence Rose or Trinity, and yeah, something like
yeah, and it was like, again, the influences of like Labyrinth, like, and then we had the influences of The Shining, and just kind of like boom, smash them together, and let's kind of make this kind of battle between good and evil, light and dark, just like our album was, which was Pendulum, and had a direct correlation between the two. And I think also one of the things that we had said was like, we do want to keep that same kind of like, I don't know what to call it, vibe or sentiment that we had in Monolith, right? Like basically, we're talking, almost the same video, but in two different stories, right? Two different ways of doing that.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing too, is to kind of like put those two together.
Yeah, I mean, all of your, and this kind of brings me back to what I was thinking about initially, was all of your aesthetics, and everything seems very intentional, and with kind of your rollout, and and it all matches, and so it's the essence and the aesthetics and the vibe of it all. Talk to me about kind of this vision around, I mean, let's just talk Pendulum, I guess, and but it's very consistent, like throughout the whole project, and obviously very intentional. I mean, you have like and even what you're wearing on stage, and like kind of the way that your outfits and the white face paint and all of that. Like, talk to me about kind of that, and are you embodying characters, or is this kind of like, just step me through the kind of the creative side of the vision and the aesthetic and the vibe of Twin Tribes, I guess, maybe if we zoom all the way out, and then down to kind of Pendulum that then influenced the full rollout, the campaign, the music videos, and just the aesthetic overall, because it's clearly very cohesive and intentional.
Thank you. I think well, it's been a work in progress, since we started. I remember at first, we're still trying to figure it out. We're still trying to figure out how to put on eyeliner,
Right.
If we should put on eyeliner, and what looks cool and stuff like that. And it came from experimenting. It came from, what do you feel comfortable with, and what looks cool, and what do you. But I think at the very beginning we both wanted to create something where it's like, this is, not just Luis, this is Luis Navarro from Twin Tribes, and this is Joel from Twin Tribes as well. Separate, from, the guy that's teaching and the guy that's over there working, being a financial coach and stuff like that. So yeah, we definitely tried a lot of things, and eventually, we started experimenting with, using more makeup, and I feel like the whole look, it started traveling, and like it started getting popular. The bolo ties, you started seeing them everywhere. I'm not saying that we're getting credit for that, but like it's just like I feel like people really like the vibe, the aesthetic, and it's also kind of important for sure.
Yeah, a big part of what we do is the live performance, and there's a theater to it, and there's, as you mentioned, an intention to it. Yes, a lot of things are intentional. Our set list, we curate it specifically for a tour. And so we want the lighting cues. We do our own lighting cues. We have automated lights, but everything's very intentional. The makeup, as Luis said, we started off, I had glasses on, I was playing with my glasses on. I remember maybe the first tour, I still had glasses on. But then I was like, no, well, I want to put on this really cool makeup. How am I going to have glasses and makeup on? So let me take the glasses off. I'm going to put on makeup, but times 1,000. Because it's much more fun to kind of like crank that knob and just be like, okay, that's me, but truly it isn't. If you see me up on stage, you might be a little apprehensive, as opposed to, hey, it's just me and Luis. Yeah, let's talk. What's up? What's going on? But when we're up there, it's just like, you're a projection, really, of who we are, just like times 1,000. And that plays into a lot of things. That plays into people wanting to come and see the show. Like, people are going to pay tickets they don't want to pay tickets to something that's going to like either bore them or, oh man, these guys really suck live. Like, we want to, provide them with an experience. And also each time we come around, elevate it. There's something new. There's going to be something new. Either a song, a performance, or a new visual, like just, building.
And we try to have that aesthetic in our albums as well, in our visuals since the very beginning. Try to get a graphic designer that can, recreate what we're trying to, do. Working with the guys that do our logos or designs for shirts. It all goes together. And going back to Pendulum, the aesthetic is there. The whole vibe that we wanted to put out is not only in the music, but in the whole packaging. The light and the dark, the half white, half black vinyl, the insert, everything that our graphic designer was able to do was just with that intention, like Joel said.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been consistent, throughout all of your releases. Pretty much every release is just black and white, some designs, and I've noticed that kind of the only times that there's some color on the covers are like for the remixes, or something that's not really an official Twin Tribes release. And was there, putting this together, did you have vision boards? Did you have a creative director that kind of helped map this out? Or what was that process like?
For Pendulum, it was all us. And I remember the biggest thing was probably to come up with the name of the album. And I remember Joel had like a word or notepad with a bunch of lyrics and words that we have been collecting since, like, I don't know, maybe a year before we started actually, looking for names. So we had a lot of names. We tried a bunch of different ideas until, one of them was Pendulum. And once we had once we decided on the name, I remember telling Joel, look, this stood out to me, and it was like a book, a book cover, the art on a book that came out in this show called Dark, that really stood out to me, and I showed him, and the artwork was inspired by that. So it's very similar, and then we went from there.
Cool. Tell me about your fan base, and how do you communicate with them primarily? And tell me kind of ways that you're able to connect with them, maybe just on a community level, but maybe also, on a business level that might be outside of the traditional or typical ways that bands connect with their artists, or fans rather.
Yeah, I mean, our Instagram has always been our main source of communication to our fans. I think it's our largest collection of fans, if I'm not mistaken, right? So that's where we've really targeted, here's our new releases, here's some new merch for you, here's our tour dates. Instagram's been that for us since the beginning, really, because that's where we started, building from the beginning. Of course, we have Facebook and everything else, but that's where we're kind of where people will respond. Like, we see the most responses on Instagram. So we've used that as far as, like, maybe outside, untraditional lines of communication with fans. I don't think we really have any untraditional ones. We have our mailing list that people can sign up for, and we'll send you, hey, like, this is a new piece of merch. You'll get it right in your inbox. Here's our new tour dates right in your inbox. So I think that's pretty cool. Now we have for our tour dates, we have this new to us that we just started using last year, Bands in Town. So I started using Bands in Town last year, and then that's that directly connects to our Spotify, where all those people that you mentioned earlier are listening to the music, and they can see, hey, they're coming to my town. So, that's maybe a new form of us like communicating with our audience as well.
Cool.
These are, we take, I guess, advantage of that possibility.
That's great. So what's next? What's next for Twin Tribes? I mean, what's 2025 going to bring for you guys?
So we just got back from playing a show in Puerto Rico for the first time, and
cool.
It's been amazing. And we just got back. We're going to be writing, finishing our next album, and I think we already have one announcement, or we already have something announced for this year.
Yeah, we have a Vampires Ball in Chicago.
I saw that. Very cool.
Yeah, and that's going to be followed by a bunch of new dates coming up this week. Actually, coming up. I don't know when this is going to release, but
they'll already be announced by when this comes out. So go check out all the Twin Tribe tour dates that are currently released and announced.
Yeah, tour dates galore. Our first time in Canada.
Awesome.
And other than that, we have so much in our pockets right now for this year that we're really, really excited for. And so yeah, man, it's going to be another one of these years.
Very cool. Well, it's very inspiring how you guys have built this project, the two of you, and how you've worked together and released the music yourself and just built it DIY. And it shows that everything is, intentional, and there's, a lot of passion and energy and a creativity and love behind the project, and that comes through, and I see that the community really resonates with that and is supporting you because of that. I have one final question that I ask everyone who comes on the show, and that is, what does it mean to you to make it in the new music business?
Thank you, by the way, for everything. And that's so tough. But that's funny. I was actually thinking about that the other day. We were working on a remix, and I woke up this morning. I took a shower, and then I was thinking how funny it is. I'm it's funny. I'm actually taking a shower to go work in my garage, to work on music. I'm getting ready to go work on music. And before I was like, I need to go put a tie on and, go to school and, go
Sure.
teach. And I was like, man, this is so crazy. And it's just one of those times where it's like you stop, you become aware, because like it's so easy to just lose focus that I just totally forgot. It's like, damn, I guess to me that's it. Like you get to work on your craft, and you get to live working doing this what you love. So I think that to me that's already all right. You made it.
Yeah, I mean that's great, and I think I'll add on top of that it means everything in the sense that we're able to maybe represent, for not only DIY artists that are out there who would say, well, this is impossible without a label. You can't do it without a label. You can't do it without X, this, or whatever. We've, been able to do that. And not to say that everybody can do this, but hey, at least there's an example of someone that's able to do that. So we can represent that for somebody, maybe, just like other bands were for us, like, hey, they did it. Like we can totally do it too. And so, being an example of the ability to do it, being a representative of, our culture, Hispanics and Mexicans and Latinas, that are out there, and seeing us being able to do it as well is also really cool, not only in the musical aspect, but the business side of it, being able to, live off of it and being able to do something that we love to do all over the world.
Awesome. Well, Joel, Luis, thank you guys so much. That was great.
Thank you so much, Ari.
Today's episode was edited by Ari Davids, with music by Grassroots District, and produced by all the great people at Ari's Take.